Namaste everyone, I'm your co-host Shawnee ma'am. Welcome to your favorite learning channel. The topic for today's video is structure of human heart. So in our previous videos, we had seen that blood is a connective tissue and it is a fluid connective tissue which has a red pigment called hemoglobin and it helps in transportation of various substances throughout our body. And heart is the organ that pumps this blood. Okay, so how can we define heart now? So heart is actually a muscular organ. So it is a muscular organ that helps in pumping of the blood to different parts of the body. Okay, so now this heart has four chambers and the upper chambers are called atria. Okay, so atria is the plural form whereas atrium is the singular form. So the upper chambers are called atria. So there are two atria. One is the right atrium and the other is the left atrium. Then there are two lower chambers called the ventricles. So there are, again as I said, there are two ventricles. So one is the right ventricle and the other is the left ventricle. Okay, then there is aorta. Aorta is, this one is aorta. So what does aorta do? It is the main artery that carries oxygenated blood, means it carries the blood that is rich in oxygen. Then there is pulmonary artery. Okay, these are the right pulmonary arteries, these are left pulmonary arteries. So pulmonary artery is the only artery that carries deoxygenated blood, which means it carries the blood that is rich in carbon dioxide. So these arteries, they carry blood from heart to the lungs. Only the pulmonary arteries are the arteries that carry the deoxygenated blood, whereas other arteries carry oxygenated blood. Then there is superior vena cava. So this one is superior vena cava. So what does superior vena cava do? Superior vena cava and other one is inferior vena cava. So these two are the two large veins present in heart. So superior vena cava, it carries deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body to the heart, whereas the inferior vena cava, it carries deoxygenated blood from lower part of the body to the heart. Then there is pulmonary veins. So these are right pulmonary veins and there are left pulmonary veins. So pulmonary veins, they are the only veins that carry oxygenated blood, and these veins, they carry blood from lungs to the heart. Okay, then there are other parts of the heart like the Brachiocephalic Artery. So this is a blood vessel that originates from the aortic arc. Then there is Tricuspid Valve or Atroventricular Valve. So this is located between the right atrium and right ventricle. Here we can see it is between right atrium and right ventricle. Okay, so this tricuspid valve, it makes sure that the blood flows in a forward direction from right atrium to the right ventricle. Okay, then there is descending aorta. Okay, so this one is descending aorta. It is a part of the aorta. It runs down through the chest and abdomen. So then there is septum present in the heart. So this septum actually separates the atria and the ventricles, and it does this in such a way that it forms a barrier. So it forms a barrier between the heart chambers and thus it prevents the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So this septum actually helps in keeping the oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood separately in the heart, as it forms the barrier between the chambers of the heart. Okay. Then there is Atroventricular Valve. Okay. So this can also be called as bicuspid valve. It is located between left atrium and left ventricle. Here we can see it is between left atrium and left ventricle. Okay, then there are semilunar valves. So they are pocket-like structures. Here we can see they are pocket-like structures attached to the point at which pulmonary artery and aorta leaves the ventricles. Then we can see the left subclavian artery, which is the fifth branch of aorta. Then there is left common carotid artery. They are large elastic artery and they provide the main blood supply to our head and neck. And these esophagus, trachea and bronchi, they are part of our respiratory system. We had already learned about it. Okay. So now let's quickly revise the things that we covered today. So we learned that heart is a muscular organ and it helps in pumping of the blood to different parts of our body. So our heart has 4 chambers. The upper chambers are called atria, which is the plural form, or atrium in singular form. So there are 2 atria. One is the right atrium and the other is the left atrium. Then after atria, we discussed about the lower chambers of our heart called the ventricles. Again, the ventricles are 2. One is the left ventricle and the other is the right ventricle. Then we learned about aorta, which is the main artery that carries oxygenated blood. Then there are pulmonary arteries, and pulmonary arteries we saw right and left pulmonary arteries, and they are the only arteries that carries deoxygenated blood. So it carries blood from the heart to the lungs. Then we saw superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. So these are the 2 large veins of our heart. The superior vena cava carries deoxygenated blood from upper part of the body to the heart, and inferior vena cava carries deoxygenated blood from lower part of the body to the heart. Then there are pulmonary veins. So these pulmonary veins are again of right pulmonary veins and there are left pulmonary veins. So pulmonary veins are the only veins that carries oxygenated blood. It carries the blood from lungs to the heart. Then we discussed about Brachiocephalic Artery, which are blood vessels originating from aortic arc. Then there is Tricuspid Valve, which are located between the right atrium and right ventricle, and these valves make sure that blood always flows in a forward direction from right atrium to the ventricle. Then there is descending aorta, okay, which is a part of aorta and it runs down the chest and the abdomen. Then we saw there is septum, and septum actually separates atria from the ventricle and prevents the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Then we also saw there is bicuspid valve, okay. So they are located between left atrium and left ventricle. Then there are semilunar valves, which are pocket-like structures attached at the point at which pulmonary artery and aorta leaves the ventricles. To that point, these pocket-like structures, that is semilunar valves, are attached. Then there is after semilunar valve, there are left subclavian artery, so which is the 5th branch of aorta. Then there is left common carotid artery. So they are large elastic arteries that provide main blood supply to our head and the neck. So these are various parts of human heart. So I hope you all would have got some great insights by watching today's video. Please do not forget to like and share the video. Till then, thank you for watching.